Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, my Faith Ignited audience. How are you? Welcome to season 1, episode 2. We are in it, guys. We are starting fresh. We are starting anew. Someone recently said out with the old and in with the new, and I like to say exhale the old and inhale the new, because when you exhale the old, you let go of all the hurt, all the pain, all the negative energy attached to whatever it is you're trying to exhale, and we center ourselves here. I center myself here on Faith Ignited. Every single Friday, I will upload a new episode for you guys, for your listening pleasure. I hope that you find me engaging and you find me to be honest and truthful, even sometimes when telling the truth hurts, but I would rather give it to someone straight. I have been on a spiritual rebirth for the better part of 5 years now. So I've been on this spiritual journey with Christ, and I was afforded an opportunity to begin my podcast. And I did so, and I fell in love with the podcast format. And just to tell you a little bit about me, I've been married 33 years to a wonderful, supportive, amazing man. I have one daughter who's 31 years old. We have one daughter who's 31 years old. We have 2 beautiful grandchildren, Nora June, who's 6, Luca Robert, yes, named after my husband, the middle name, his namesake. He is 3 little years old, and it's true. It is the best gift God has ever given my husband and myself. The ability to experience the love of a grandchild. Oh my gosh. And by the way, I'm a very emotional person. I do get teary-eyed with these stories because sometimes I think, oh my gosh, like God is so real. A higher power. If you're here, it's because something about the title called you to be here. I truly believe that with all my heart and soul. That if you're listening to this podcast, if you can hear the sound of my voice, you were called to listen. You were called to be here today, and I am so, so grateful you're here. If this is your first time listening to Faith Ignited, it's nice to finally meet you. And if you're a returning listener, which many of you are, welcome back. We're back, baby. We're back, baby. Better than ever. Stronger than ever. Knowing my purpose more so now than any other moment in my life. With all of that being said, I'd like to introduce our guest tonight. He's sitting here to my left, waiting patiently for his introduction. It's only because the first episode was one that I had to put up that I had done previous, because I wanted you guys to at least have something to listen to. So that's why this is technically episode 1. This is technically episode 1, the new and Improve Faith Ignited episode 1 starts right now. And I couldn't ask for anyone better to be here with me than my companion and best friend for 33 years. 33 years, my best friend, whom I love so much. He's always so supportive. He's always right by my side. He's always there to protect me and to help me every single day be the best version of myself, because I know that he gives me the best version of himself every single day. And with that, my husband, Robert, my baby love is here. Welcome, baby.
Thank you. That was a beautiful introduction, and I am happy to be by your side for this, initial kind of first brand new on the
multiple.
We'll call it the free format to
say
put
what I
everywhere
want.
you want to be and say what you want, and I am happy to be here to talk and just share and see what directions we go, because if you guys know my wife at all, very unscripted, so there is no plan of what path to go. We're just gonna talk on a bunch of different stuff and go where we're meant to go.
If I've ever interviewed you and you're listening, sometimes people will ask me, "Oh, do you have the questions beforehand?" And I'm like, "No, I don't do things that way. Maybe I should, but I don't."
Nah, more natural.
Off the
better.
cuff, right?
Yeah.
Just an organic conversation, as if we were on the phone or just sitting in front of each other.
Just normal stuff.
And I never forget why we started. And I am so honored to be able to be here with you tonight, baby, and to experience this sort of first step into my new journey with this podcast. You know how much I love it, right?
Oh, of course. You put everything into it to be, available and to share and to help people get through challenging times, and over time, things that you've shared with me that even have helped me look at things very differently over the last few years. Things don't just happen. I mean, things are happening for reasons, and you might not understand the reason when they happen, but at some point in the future, you look back and say, okay.
That's what he was doing.
It's like that old song, remember? What if God's greatest gift is unanswered prayers?
Yes.
Right? So you think you want something so bad, you pray for something, it doesn't happen, and you
Yeah.
don't understand why, but then time goes by and you're like, oh, you know what? That would have been a big mistake if that actually would have happened. So I'm so glad that prayer didn't get answered, because that wasn't part of, God's plan for me, for you, for us. So yeah, it's a faithful way to look at things.
And that's exactly right, baby. And a good example of that's fresh for us, and a very open wound, if I'm being honest. 3 years ago, our daughter and her husband and our son-in-law and our grandchildren lived with, let me see, how do we say about Chelsea?
Chelsea was, born and lived with us, all through, first one-bedroom apartment, second-bedroom apartment, 3-bedroom duplex, and then we bought our house, and then graduated high school, and ended up getting engaged, and her husband moved in, and then Nora was born, and Luca was born, and then so I mean,
it was 8 years with her husband
Chelsea
here.
though lived
28
years with us, and so that changed in end of June 2021, when they made that move. Well, it's not like it was just a 20-minute drive. They moved from California to Georgia. They're the exact opposite end of the country,
Right.
which to not have Chelsea ever leave our house,
Right.
and then to have her leave. Her husband obviously lived with us for 8 years, and then Nora had been 4 years, and Luca, just only 9 months. To have all that change
Within a matter of
on
days.
on one day, they were in their car and made their drive cross country. That was a tough few years.
Tough. It's still tough, but the silver lining, when I didn't see it then, I could just see pain and heartache, and oh my God, I even tried to just fill that void with anybody that I could find, like to try to make me feel like I have a relationship with someone like I had with my daughter, right? I was searching for that.
Friend motherly way, right?
Yeah, and I found that in a few people, but it didn't pan out in a good way for one person in particular, and I learned a lot from that experience. And I knew that no one could ever replace our daughter. And I realized that diving into something just to say, I don't want to think about what's going on,
What you were missing.
what I was missing, right? So they moved in 2021.
Yeah, end of June.
We struggled. We struggled year 1. We struggled year 2. We struggled year 3. And we're in year 3 now, but I'm talking beginning of year 3. It was a huge struggle. And I know our daughter won't be ashamed, and it's her story to tell one day, but she was going through a really tough time there as well, not being able to adapt to the South versus California, such a liberal state.
Well, not having the support system that she knew for 28 years.
Right. That was gone. So she tried to fill that void with other things too. And so they moved, okay, and they went from rental home with friends, and the friend knew, blah 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 blah. Anyways, they ended up renting 2 houses in that time frame. When it was time for them to move out of that second property, they had no idea what they were going to do. This is recently. They didn't have a plan. They didn't have a means. They didn't have a way. But Chelsea had and has faith, a lot of it. She is teaching her husband to have faith, right? So all we had was the faith in God that something. We didn't want them on the streets. We didn't want them. We didn't know what to do. We couldn't help too much from here because we had a lot of expenses the year prior, right, babe?
Yeah, well, and just distance. Distance makes it a challenge.
Right. And so, but the silver lining, and I'm sorry if it took me forever to get to this point, 13 minutes exactly, but that's my lucky number. 14 now. That's his day he was born, and Chelsea's day she was born. So, do you guys know that the house that my daughter and son-in-law purchased
just a couple weeks ago,
just a few weeks ago, congratulations, if any of you are new homeowners, you know that, listen, times are tough. We used to say rations. When we bought the house, we would be on rations, like the bare minimum, right? So the house that they're living in was purchased the exact year that Chelsea left with the kids and Brandon to Georgia. It was purchased by a property management company in that year, and it has remained vacant until the day they put their keys in that door. And I said what Robert was saying earlier, that's what he was doing. That's what he was working on. That's what God had in store the whole time.
I just didn't know the timing of when that would come into their present time, right?
And without faith. And that's why this podcast is called Faith Ignited, because you might be needing to reignite your faith. You might be going through a tough time where you think God isn't listening, but I promise you, we promise you, because we both know this to be true in our lives, that He is working on things for you in your behalf. And they're great things. And they do come with great responsibility. But they were so blessed with an opportunity to purchase a home. With a little help from family. That's what we're all there for. We wish them nothing but the best. And Nora and Luca, nothing but the best. But we had times where our faith was rocky. Me, I'll speak for myself. I had times where I was so angry with God. Like, why? Why did they move? Why is this happening, right, babe?
Yeah.
We both had days like that. You know, we all know that our kids grow up but we never imagined across the country.
Yeah. I mean, it's like us when we first moved, we moved. Well,
You could tell that story.
well, yeah, there's two stories. One, we first moved out, but then I was thinking too, when we moved from San Jose to Gilroy, which
Yeah.
was 40 miles away from
Yeah, my
Atlanta.
parents.
Your mom and dad, right? Yeah, mom and papa. And that seemed so far back then.
Back then, yeah.
But it really wasn't. It's not. But compared to where they moved to Georgia, it's just so far away.
We felt so out of reach. Like, we couldn't just get in our car and drive over there if there was anything going on that we needed to be there. We couldn't be there. And it was driving us like
It was hard.
crazy. We didn't know what was going on, why it was happening. But now that they're settling and the dust is settling and they're in their home, Nora's in her new school, and they're living their lives, and that's all we've ever wanted, was for them to be happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't care where you choose to be happy. I was mad for selfish reasons.
Yeah. But being healthy and happy.
Healthy
always
and
number one.
happy. And what they purchased in Georgia, they would have never been able to purchase in California, unfortunately.
Yeah, no. Price is just so dramatically different.
Drastically different. And that's why people move out of California, because they can't
Yeah, it's hard. It's
you
difficult.
got to work a few jobs, and it's very hard. Of course, it's a beautiful place to live and exist, but a house isn't a home until you make it a home where your children are going to grow up, and yeah, I mean, so many things happen for so many reasons. We don't always understand why or how in that moment, but God does reveal to us, or your higher power. Because listen, Faith Ignited is for everyone. It's for anyone. Come as you are. You can be any religion. You could not have a religion. I want you to come as you are and feel cozy, comfy, relaxed, decompressed, And we're going to dive into some topics here for you guys. My husband was starting with talking about the story when we were 18 and how we moved out and did my parents so wrong that it was only obvious karma would come back and bite us.
Well, and we don't recommend
No.
doing what we
No.
did,
No,
but
please.
we kind of decided after, really only kind of being boyfriend girlfriend
For a short
from,
amount of
well,
time.
really grad night,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Which was in June, right?
Yep.
And we just both just had that feeling of, wow, this is not just a nonchalant boyfriend girlfriend relationship
yeah.
thing that's possible here. So we actually moved out of I live with my mom and stepdad. She lived with her parents, obviously, but we moved out into a 1-bedroom apartment 5 months after high school graduation, basically.
Yeah.
And again, the part we don't recommend is we kind of had planned it for about a month and a half, and we started buying stuff and keeping it in my room at my mom's apartment.
Yeah.
And basically, one day when your parents were at work,
Yeah.
we came and moved everything out.
Yeah.
And got that 1-bedroom. But again, we don't recommend that.
We did it like over just one morning. We just took everything
That
out
day.
of my room, and my poor Portuguese grandmother lived with us at the time. I love you, Vava. And she went to go hang up laundry of mine, opened my door and saw everything gone, opened my closets. Imagine her as my grandmother feeling like, why did she do this? How am I going to tell Teresa that her daughter is gone? And she called my mom at work and was like, Nancy is gone. And we do not recommend
Yeah.
doing that.
That
Please.
was our early journey.
Yes.
And things, obviously 33 years later, things ended up beautiful, amazing, but that might not be the case in every situation when someone does that.
No, and Robert and I thought we were on limited time schedule. We went to middle school together, did not know each other. Our paths crossed somewhere in the 8th grade or 7th and 8th? Sixth grade.
Yep.
6th grade.
I'm sure I saw you in that line.
He moved
those
around.
Hoover brownies. I'm
Yeah,
sure I saw
those
you.
Hoover brownies were delicious. And the student store, I used to get pencils and erasers. I remember it being like 2 cents, 3 cents.
Back in the day.
Right?
Well, then, in same high school for junior and senior year.
Right.
And we talk about things happening for a reason. I know because you told me this later that you going to that high school was because of using
My
Tia
aunt's.
Fatima's address.
No, Tia Maria.
Actually, Tia Maria's address in Santa Clara because you lived in San Jose.
Yeah, my
right?
dad refused to let me go to school where we lived.
And then for me, I lived in San Jose with my mom and used a friend that lived in Santa Clara
Crazy.
to go to that school. So we both were going to the same high school where neither of us, based on where we lived,
We're supposed
Should've.
to be there.
and went to that school together for 2 years.
Yes.
Had a lot of similar friends, but
Yes.
never met each other until
Never.
the last couple weeks of high school graduation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy just how. Well, and we talk about things not being coincidental, right?
Right.
So even going back a little further, before graduation of high school, maybe 3 months before, I was the way I grew up. It was two different worlds. My mom was
Yes.
on welfare her whole life, so there was a
Yes.
lot of struggles there.
Yes.
Daily, monthly.
Yes.
Remember many
Yes.
times, powdered milk, with cereal if we had
Yeah.
it. If not, it was water with cereal. And there was some tough times.
Yeah.
Then my dad was the exact
It
opposite.
makes me so sad.
No, it's like, hey, it makes you who you are, right?
Hmm.
But with my dad, it was the opposite. He was, an engineer at IBM, very
Wealthy.
Yeah, very well situated. So I spent different years with each parent, which was so different extreme wise. So living with my mom, junior, senior year of high school, the last maybe 6 months, I was like, yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do
Right.
with my life. So I thought, you know what, let me enlist in the army. Why not? I had a friend also enlist, so got basically a promotion. When you go in as a private, you're E1, but because I got a friend to enlist, I went in as an E2, which I think meant like $40 more paycheck or something. It was pretty insignificant, but did that, and
Crazy how things happen. My God.
because of our recent relationship, I didn't want to go too far away. So what I was able to do was do 3 years in Fort Ord, which is in Monterey. So the south part, the Bay Area. So
An hour away,
yeah,
maybe.
an hour away. So I mean, I knew there'd be weekends and off. I mean, it would work out. There would still be a way to see each other.
Right.
And then the last year was going to be up in Washington, just because they were going to close that base in Monterey. So that's what we kind of went with that whole
I
summer.
was so sad.
Yeah, well,
we had a going away barbecue.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I vividly remember that day. I woke up and felt like somebody had died. And that's when I knew, like when I knew he was my forever, was when I felt how I felt when I wasn't with him. I was like, I've never felt anything like this ever in my life. So we had a going away party and everyone said goodbye, and I was so horrified.
Well, and I was supposed to, basic training was going to be, it's funny thinking back to this now, how all things, I didn't even think about this until I was about to say this. So all things come full circle. When I was going to leave for basic training,
Right.
do you remember where basic training was going to be for that month or 6 weeks?
Chicago, Illinois?
No.
Where?
Fort Benning. Guess what state Fort Benning is in?
Don't tell me Georgia.
Georgia.
Wow.
Fort Benning, Georgia. So
we would have ended up there maybe.
that was just for basic training, but the fact that that's where I was
that's crazy.
is crazy. So I go up. My recruiter picks me up, and 4 a.m. or whatever, to go up to Oakland to MEPS,
horrible feeling.
where they do all where you do all your processing and you leave from there. So I get up there, and doing all the normal paperwork and check-ins and everything. And
you happened to notice, thank God you did, when you went through your paperwork, like, hey, wait, this is wrong.
No, it wasn't that. There was a group of like 8 or 10 that they called. They called like on the name, blah 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 blah. Come over here. So I'm like, okay. Thought I was in trouble already. I was like, well, what happened?
Yeah.
And they said that the U.S. Army or the Department of Defense, they had decided to no longer take recruits
For Fort
Ord because they were going to close that base.
Right.
So instead, they changed the orders from 3 years in Monterey, 1 year in Washington, to 4 years in Chicago.
That's what I forgot, the Chicago.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to live in Chicago. Great. I'll go to Oprah Studios and I'll watch her show.
Well,
like, sit in the audience.
I've always been a big Michael Jordan fan, but I wasn't about to go to Chicago in the Army just for Michael Jordan games and be so far from you.
No.
And so it was either take those orders or you would get an honorable discharge.
Right.
So that's...
he took the honorable discharge, guys, and then his mom, my mother-in-law, I love her so much. Ina, rest in peace, Ma. But she called me at work, and she's like, at lunchtime, she's like, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm so devastated. I can't even work. I was crying all day, sick. And she goes, I'm not having a easy time. I'm having a really rough day. Can you come over here after work and just give me a hug, and we could just cry together about Bobby, my husband, Robert, they called him Bobby, going away. And so I remember thinking, I can't wait to go to my future mother-in-law's apartment and just be in the essence of him, right? So I worked a full day, got off at 5 o'clock, and drove over there, and his door was closed, and she sat me down, and she had a little kitchen table with like 2 seats. Poor thing. She sat me down and she said, I can't even walk past his room. And so I had to shut the door. Do you know this story?
You told me
a little
I think,
bit, but
yeah,
I'm refreshing your
yeah.
memory.
I remember. I know the end part when she has to go get something out of the room.
Yeah.
I think.
She asked me, can you go grab me the paperwork that's on Bobby's bed? And I opened the door, and there he was, tucked into his bed, fast asleep. I wanted to die. I literally died and went to heaven in that moment, and I jumped on him. I'm like, Robert, you're here. I'm like, wake up. What do you do? He was all half asleep. Like, yeah, they messed up my orders, and I was able to get out of it. They were going to send me to Chicago, and I'm like, what? Oh my God, I'm so glad you didn't go. And then boom.
Well, and then so we always talk about things don't happen by accident, right?
No.
So think about these next kind of chain of events, right? We think I'm going to the Army. We don't know what that's going to look like. And, all these last years, we've seen all kinds of different movies and shows and just like a lot of the mental stuff that our military goes through and a lot of
Right.
changes in the, relationships and
Yeah.
dynamics and, rest in peace, all the soldiers that, have died in all these different wars the last
Rest
30
in
years,
peace. Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, well, I'm not going, so let me see if I get my my old job back, because the last 2 years of high school I had worked at a grocery store. So I'm like, hey, let me go back, because I was making decent money there, and I had the the best shift. It was 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. So it was like off in the afternoons. I said, let me go back.
Guess where else he worked? Tell them where you worked. 2 doors down from where?
Oh well, yeah, that's where I was working at.
Okay.
Yeah, so and so actually at that grocery store in that parking lot, a few
Can you guys believe this?
things down.
This is crazy thinking about all this.
Yeah, Nancy worked in a dental office, and so I think I noticed. I don't know. I noticed your car maybe that was parked, or I walked by him and saw you maybe at the front desk, and I remembered you from school, and so that was just crazy. And I was
He
like,
would get carts and look in the window, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, I hope I look cute. Like, that guy's so cute." Like, I just thought he was. But could you imagine?
Well-
He's actually working 3 doors down from where I work, and we didn't even know
didn't know.
that. Our paths had crossed since the 6th grade.
But then, because of wanting to spend time together before the Army,
Right.
I ended up quitting that grocery store.
Right.
Because we wanted to have a full month before I left.
Yeah.
Right? So
We had fun a full month.
Oh, we had a good time for sure.
Yeah.
But then when I didn't go, I go back to that grocery store, go to the manager, which again, trust me, I was a jokester. I wasn't the most professional back then, but I still was on good terms with
Yeah.
people. So I go back and I say, hey, I
Good
didn't-
worker, hard
yeah,
worker.
I didn't go. Can I get rehired? And he's like, oh, we would love to rehire you. Now it was union, because grocery store union, and if you reapply for your role within 30 days, you get your seniority back. I had missed it by 3 days. It was 33 days. 33 days I had been gone. So I could have started, but I've been at the bottom. And so instead what I did was I had a friend who worked at a car place, in the U.S., Jiffy Lube. So it's a pretty national chain. I wasn't really into repairing cars and stuff. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do that maybe for 6 months. Because my thought then was to go into highway patrol. I thought that maybe would be a good career path.
Yeah.
And again, we have our plans that we think, and then God jumps in and says,
Yeah.
"Oh, no, actually, that's not the plan."
Yes.
And so Jiffy Lube, multiple promotions, got bought by Pennzoil, then by Shell, and 33 years later, still working for for the same company.
Congratulations.
Now we're
baby.
talking, retirement, hopefully, 5, 6, 7 years,
Yes,
early retirement.
amen.
But again, all of that because of what happened when I
Amen.
thought I was going to go into the Army.
18 years old, he made a decision to take that Jiffy Lube job because we said after that moment of being apart just for those hours, thinking we were going to be apart if he went away, we were like, we need to live together.
Yeah. So then that's what we planned out for those 3 or 4 months, and then
Boom.
November 1991, we made that jump to a very modest 1-bedroom apartment.
Oh my gosh.
And the funny story is, it's not like we had saved a ton or were well
No.
off. I remember, I'll never forget, our first couch were 2 beanbags. That was our first couch, 2 beanbags.
What was our second couch?
A papasan.
You guys
which
know
was
what a papasan?
basically this bamboo, uncomfortable wicker thing that had, cushions on it to make it a little more comfortable. But yeah, that was couch. But we did have that really humongous entertainment center with that nice 27-inch TV that we were like, wow, this is amazing. This 27-inch TV. So yeah, we started very, very modestly. But
Yes.
the thing about it was we didn't care because we were together.
Yes.
And that's been our mindset ever since those first days. Is like Tia Fatima said at our wedding.
Yeah.
Good times, bad times, we can get through things together because we know we are, meant to be in each other's lives, not just for a season
Yes.
or a reason, but for a lifetime, right? Like we
Amen.
say about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Different things come and go, but
Yes.
we just always felt that no, this is a lifetime for each other. And then you think of all the stuff throughout the years, right? With 2 years later, Chelsea being born, and then going from that 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom, and then finally making the decision to get into something bigger and making a move, to a duplex. And then it's just, there's so many things that have happened over the years that you could say aren't coincidental. Even when we thought we were ready, when we were 30, to buy our first house.
Right.
Made an offer. They countered back and was like, no, as is. And
Yes.
it was at that time where a lot of you might relate to this for good reasons or bad reasons, but they were doing all of those interest-only loans back then, and they didn't even verify your income, and people were qualifying for stuff, and they really should have never had a house for what they bought it for. And so we decided to not take that offer and buy that house. We said, no, you know what? Let's just stay in our duplex. And thank God we did, right? Because again, God's plan, not our plan. Within a year or two, that whole issue with the housing and the loans and people defaulting, and it just got so bad. We would have definitely been in a really bad situation had we bought that house when we were 30.
Oh my gosh,
Right?
we really would have.
So a couple years later, the housing market, has that huge bubble and drops, and we're able to buy our house, and now we've been here for 16 years in this house, and it's we feel extremely blessed in so many ways. But that story though about
That's crazy retelling that.
when you high school, the Army thing, basic training being in Georgia. Right? It's so
that
crazy.
was great. That's crazy.
'Cause I never even really thought about that until we started talking
You
about
would
it.
have hated it there.
Well, and that was going to be in July or August. So August in Georgia, basic training,
Basic training.
military, outside, not caring how hot or dehydrated. Yeah, that would have been
Bad news.
not good.
No, I'm so thankful. But then he hits me with wanting to be a highway patrol. Now, if any of you know me personally, you know that I don't do well with anxious situations. Like my husband, if he's 5 minutes late and he's just supposed to run to the store and run back, and I hear an ambulance, I already think, oh my God, something happened to my husband. And I know that they say, if you have faith, you don't, but it's just human nature, right? It's human nature. So I call him, are you okay? Yeah, why? I don't know. I heard an ambulance. And you're...
Now that story, that feeling about when you hear an ambulance, if I've gone to the store or something, this is not 25 years ago. This is like a week ago. This is current. This has never changed. This has always been. So it's not like this is a feeling of, from 25 years ago. This is like from, Tuesday this week or Monday this week. And so, yeah, for me,
goes on a flight.
Well, for me, highway patrol, I was always like, okay, military doesn't work out. Okay, this highway patrol, growing up, loving that, they showed Chips,
Yeah.
Ponch and John, right?
Yeah,
so, hey, highway patrol.
Yeah.
But yeah, my wife is
a warrior.
she's a warrior of car accidents,
Oh,
and
all that.
just stuff. So imagine all the stuff that Highway Patrol sees.
Oh, God.
So the good news is,
But I never told him no. I was like, of course, babe, I'm going to support you through the schooling. We're going to make it work. And then all I kept thinking was, I kept thinking, and believe it or not, I made more money than Robert did per hour. We're talking per hour back then. And we don't even want to say how much per hour because it will age us so much. But know that it was under $10 an hour.
I was going to say for mine, let's just say you multiplied that number, that hourly rate, by 2. You still would be probably hitting if you're playing blackjack. Hoping to double down. But yeah, it was not the best. But you know what? We did what we had to do. We got by. We had ramen nights sometime for dinner. We had Little Caesar crazy bread nights.
Tell them the bank that situation with the bank.
So there was a bank in Santa Clara called Bank of Santa Clara. Very small. They had maybe 6 branches, but it was the only bank that I've ever, even to this day, I've never heard of a bank where the ATM you could actually withdraw increments of $5. So you had $8 in your account that week. You could take $5 out of that ATM. You had $12. You could take $10 out of the ATM.
And we did.
Oh no, there were many a weeks where $5, $10 withdrawals got us through a night or two of dinner for sure.
Oh gosh, you guys.
But have you guys ever heard? I mean, I've never heard of any other bank ever that did that.
$5 increments.
$5 increments.
It was like God always provided. He always provided. Even, and here's another thing. Half of this we didn't even think we were going to talk about today. We were just gonna have we had all these questions, get to how well do you know your spouse type questions. But then we started talking about real life stuff, which I think is so much more important and stuff, and it's definitely a story we're passionate about, and we lived through it. We know what the outcome is. And if any of you out there needing hope or inspiration, or you feel down right now and you feel like you're not in a place you want to be, you always say, babe, life is a marathon, not a race.
Yeah, it's not a sprint. It's
not a sprint.
It's a slow jog because there's many checkpoints along the way, and that finish line is not.
No, I had that backwards.
A sprint. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
But you knew what you meant.
You
knew what you meant.
But maybe they don't.
But no, we've always said that because it's about different checkpoints.
Yeah.
But that finish line is not until it's our time. Which again, don't get me wrong, we want that to be many, many years down the road. Mm-hmm. We have a lot more adventures to do.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do, baby.
But yeah, all the stuff we've been talking about just really makes you think about things happening for a reason. Even those of you that know Nancy personally or have gotten to know her over the last 4.5 years or so, since this kind of, I think, just a little bit more
time
faith
with
focused,
God,
I would say.
Yeah.
So Faith Ignited for sure is your podcast, but I'd say faith focused for both of us because we're honest. We don't lie. We went through challenges.
Yeah.
We went through hard times. We went
through
being
addictions.
And being focused on things that were not the best for our individual selves or marriage. We got to points where it's like, at some point, I think every relationship gets to this point where you have to really together say,
are we doing this together or are we doing this apart?
Do we see our lives being better tomorrow together or better tomorrow apart?
Right.
And for us, no matter what the situation has been,
whenever it's come down to it,
when we've really talked in those terms and said, wait, hold on, big picture, what do we really feel in our heart? It has always come back to, no, we know we are better off tomorrow together.
Yes.
And so I think, anyone that's going through a relationship, I love you.
A little kiss session.
Anyone that's going through, struggles, relationship questions like that, things are meant to be you'll find things
Yes.
to have it make sense.
Right.
Now, sometimes relationship maybe is not meant to be if, if you're putting up with, being abused or,
Yeah.
being verbally abused, physically abused. I mean,
That even works for work relationships too. Like people you tolerate, right? Like people that don't treat you right, and you need to get out of those situations. Like,
well, like this podcast, for example. I mean, those of you that know my wife know that she wears her heart on her sleeve.
I do.
And she always has and she always will go above and beyond for anyone, including people she doesn't know. Like some of you have gotten to know her over the last few years in situations or contexts that you would have never expected to become friends, but things have developed over time.
Yeah.
To be like sisters, right?
Yeah.
But she wears her heart on her sleeve.
Yeah.
She would, if she had $1 in her wallet and had no money coming in for 2 weeks, she would give you that $1 if it really helped you out, right? But the problem with that is over the years, there's been a lot of people that you do that for
Yeah.
that don't even halfway reciprocate that back to you. And
True.
it's unfortunate that people have taken that for granted and have not been respectful to you or kind to you. And then when a situation happens, because again, you're always honest, you're always going to tell the truth. The reality is a lot of people, even though they need to hear the truth and they'll say they want to hear the truth, they don't like to hear the truth because it might not make them feel as confident or as correct as they think they are. And so
it comes down to the person wanting to be right at the end of the day. Who wants to be right more, you or me? You take it, right? I let them have it because for me it's not worth. I want these relationships to all be good.
yeah, it's all big, but then what happens? Because again, podcast, I'd been for the last year. Was not going to outlets that you kind of had thought it was, right? And so it was, a little bit limited, and some things that were thought to be friendships that honestly, I believe are more business acquaintances that were
and
kind
I
of.
hate to hear that, but it's like I hate when he says things like that because I'm like, no, they're my friends.
Well, but that's the thing, though, right? So you give your all to everyone that you can, right? Any time of day. I mean, you're there to help someone that has a concern with faith. They have a question about just not feeling like they're valued or what's their purpose. I mean, again, midnight, 2 a.m, 3 a.m. I mean, you reach out to people to help them get through struggling times, to help people see that there is a faith, to have faith out there, that there is a reason for this,
Yes.
that they are loved, that they are here for a reason,
Appreciated,
right?
yeah.
So for me personally,
Thanks, baby.
no, it's
You don't have to say that.
no, but
though.
it's the truth though. So for me, you deciding to say, you know what, it's time for a change. Let me kind of
regroup.
re-energize your entire podcast and kind of refocus yourself on just being there, doing what you want to do to help anyone and everyone,
Yeah.
doing it the way you're going to do it and how you're going to share with the link, and then having that link also go to all those other platforms, right? All the
Yes.
Spotify. And again, I'm not the person that knows about that, so I just know Spotify.
All major listening platforms.
Yeah, all the major stuff for podcasts can be heard, I guess. But doing that, yourself, instead of being involved with a different group,
Third party.
third party, you're doing it yourself. And I think, again, that other stuff was great the time that it was good,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
this is now
learned
your
a
chance
lot,
your
yeah.
chance to kind of do what you want to do and make it available to everyone, not just those that would go to a certain app that was confusing for some people to figure out.
Yeah.
Now you're having it where if you're sharing it every week, you'll have a link, or they can find it, Faith Ignited on those other platforms too, because it
Yes.
uploads, within I think a day or a couple days, I think.
Yeah, I think so. A couple of days.
So I mean, I'm proud of you because and to make that leap, a lot of people wouldn't do that. They would just stay in that situation because it was kind of comfortable, and you didn't have to.
I just kind of felt like, and we're not in any way bashing anything, anyone, any way, or Robert is very passionate about. Someone once described him as my bulldog. You guys, they once said that he's like a bulldog next to her, and it's or Rottweiler. I would say Rottweiler, baby.
Well, I just hate for you to do what you do when you the thing about you is you do stuff to help anyone without expecting anything in return for yourself. Right?
Yeah,
you do that to help people in general.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
when you're trying to do that, and then what comes back to you is kind of not what, as far as the reach of wanting to help people, it's not what you kind of were told it was going to be. It was time to be able to control that yourself. Better. To be honest.
And honestly, I didn't like to hear that when someone told me that, like, maybe you should be on your own. And I was like, no. At first I said no, because I was like, no way.
You felt almost like passionate and obligated to say what you were doing because of, the relationships that you thought you had built.
But
at the end of the day, it really wasn't exactly what you thought it was.
I still believe that that they know my heart and they know me, and I will love them always.
Yeah, you have no bad intention.
And I want them to succeed and do so well. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we're not going to say any names or anything like that. It's best if you don't, it's just, we're just going to move on. I didn't know my husband was going to go in that direction. Okay, so let's change it up.
All right, so that was the past.
That's past.
So now we're the present and the future.
Okay, future being that I think we should have a relationship series. Start this podcast with a relationship series, and maybe we do 6 weeks of us just coming here and sharing our experiences. That was one story, guys.
We have a lot.
That was one story of how God is working behind the scenes so many times. Every time.
It's stuff that just it's not coincidence. I mean, it's definitely, we always say God's plan. I mean, it really is God's plan. Well, so I'll say this: when you have a lot of different directions you want to go with different things ideas, on your podcast, but I will just say, whenever you want me to clear my schedule, I'll say I'll have my people call your people, and where I live, so I think we can make that happen.
That would be great, because I feel like, you know what, people can really absorb what we're telling them, and maybe it'll help them have hope in love, and hope in happily ever afters, and hope that you don't know what's happening behind the scenes, and you also didn't hear the conversations that happened that God heard. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you make decisions and you think, God, I wish I could have been a part of that conversation, but then I pray about it and God is like, but I was a part of that conversation. And then that's when I get a sensation like, oh, I hate it when that happens, type of thing. Like, damn.
And it applies to so many different things.
Yeah.
Right? It applies to, I think, relationships. Yeah. It applies to, I think, career stuff.
Yeah.
And a perfect example of that was I've been doing the same role for 9 years now, but maybe 3 years ago, I was kind of like feeling stagnant. And so there was a couple of different positions that came available, and I actually applied for one, still in the same company, but a different area. Didn't get it.
Yes.
Where at first I was kind of like, that's too bad.
He was hurt.
But then 4 months later, kind of a new role was created within the same job that I was doing, but it was a little more responsibility, and it was a promotional role.
Yes.
And so that happened instead. Amen. And it's been, just knock on wood, right? It's been amazing these last 2.5 years. But that's my example of,
Thank you, Jesus.
some of those greatest
Thank
gifts
you,
are unanswered
Jesus.
prayers, because
Thank you, Jesus.
I thought it was a bad thing to not get that other role, where honestly it turned out to be, for the last 3 years, and really what I think the next 5 years or 6 years, whatever it's going to be, could not have positioned us better
Yeah.
for our, towards our retirement.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that other role that I didn't get, they actually have had a couple reorgs since then and have reduced a big amount of roles in that group.
Wow.
So it's, everything happens for reasons that we just, you just don't know.
We just don't know.
So-
And we wish everyone the best. Of course, the best of luck
Always.
with everyone you've worked with so many people. And you kind of teach me how to, like, from a work standpoint, like, detach, right? Like, you give me the real deal.
Yeah.
You tell me the real deal. Sometimes I'm like, no. But
But we always say too, though, that I think for me as a guy, it's easier to do
Yes.
that. And you struggle with that.
yes.
Honestly, because even through people's negative faults and doing mean things back to you or saying rude things back to you, you still, in the bottom of your heart, want the best for those people and hope
Yes.
that they can kind of get over what they're
Yes.
doing and be better people.
Yes.
And it's just, for me, I don't. I'm the
It's a
person that
journey. It's a journey.
Yeah, for me,
people are on.
I'm not as nice as you are in that way, by any
Yeah.
means.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm done. I'm moving on.
Yeah.
It's
For me, it's a personal thing, and it. And when I love so hard, and I love forever. I'll forever have love for that place, and thank them for my opportunities that I had there. And it's just time. It was just time, and that's okay.
Now I want to say real quick before you kind of do the last couple minute wrap up, because I know we're getting close. I want to tell people what they should expect when they listen to you on
Yeah,
Faith
please
Ignited.
do, babe.
So you're gonna hear all kinds of stuff. She does a really good job looking for, different stories about, people that had struggled with something but got through it and, got to a better place. Whether it's, again, relationship stuff, just believing in, a bigger thing than just yourself, right? Building faith.
The
Knowing,
journey.
the journey, knowing that, you can get through anything because you're not going through anything alone.
No.
And so I think your podcast, the direction you're going to go, it's going to help people, I think, every week just get a little nugget of something that they can apply to their own life, their own story.
That's
or,
the goal,
or,
right?
or it triggers something else to maybe reach out to someone that they haven't reached out to.
Yeah.
Or to, just do what you do. You're out and you see someone, oh, that's a beautiful shirt.
Yeah.
And the person smiles, oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
And honestly, sometimes that shirt might not be the prettiest shirt, but again, it's about being kind to others, right?
Right.
And
I find something beautiful in it. Like, I'm like, it compliments your eyes, girl.
yeah, I mean, you build people
Yeah.
up. That maybe that particular moment, that person was feeling really down, and that maybe made the rest of their day better.
I hope so.
Yeah, and then maybe they did the same thing to someone else.
That's what I'm
right?
hoping, right? To start the chain of events.
Yeah.
And I hope that this podcast starts a chain of events that we can go through together, and we can experience this journey firsthand. I'm letting kind of God lead the way. We're letting God lead the way. And today my husband was supposed to actually, and my podcast can be as long as or as short as I want. I was limited to an hour on the where I was
platform.
before, and so now my podcast, I can go over an hour, not too much over, because I know some of you guys are listening to it 3 hours ahead of the time or whatever.
Be careful saying that when I'm on, because I am classically known for taking 20 minutes on an agenda and stretching it to an hour and a half. So don't tell me we have unlimited time. Be careful with me.
I don't work with you on that kind of level, nor do I want to, because I am the boss in this.
This is your podcast.
And I'd be like, shh. Like tonight I wanted to be like, shh. So many times I was like, shh.
But you guys are in for a great weekly experience of hearing amazing things
Aw.
from an amazing person.
And when you're on, even more amazing. And our love story has so many twists and turns. It'd be fun to,
There's a lot of
like
those.
tonight, how we revisited, and then like our honeymoon, how I had to drive stick shift on in my wedding dress to our honeymoon. And like that, from there, what happened
There's
that
so much
night?
stuff.
Like
There's
there's
so
so
much
many
stuff.
things. But we're here to share our experience to make you guys have a better experience at the end of the day. I want you guys to feel good about yourselves, feel confident in yourself, feel feel that the blessings you are receiving. This is one thing that hurts me when I see all these people getting blessed by so many things in their lives, right? So many blessings, and they overlook them as blessings, and they just say, "Oh, that's because it's my time now, or it's my luck,
made that
or
happen."
I made that." All things happen with the higher power involved, right? So I want to end each episode with my my All Things Beautiful devotion book, and depending on what day it is and what I read, I'm going to end with that, just because it gives us something to think about, and we can read it together and kind of go from there. All right, guys. So it's the 23rd today of August. So this one is in my book. It's called All Things Beautiful, 365 Devotions for Women. Greener pastures. Pay careful attention to your own work, for then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done, and you won't need to compare yourself to anyone else, for we are each responsible for our own conduct. Galatians 6, chapters 4 through 5. God, I confess that sometimes I struggle when you bless others with exactly what I wanted. I get discouraged, and I may sin instead of being thankful for what you have given me. Help me to have more faith and to be always grateful. What you give me is due to your great wisdom, love, and purpose that you have designed solely for me alone. God has a specific plan for each of us. Who are we to say that a lack of advancement isn't part of the better purpose for our lives? He is the one who does the calling, we do not. We do well to remain humble and avoid comparing ourselves to others as we wait on the Lord. Let's have faith that in what He has destined specifically for us, when the timing is appropriate, He will exalt us as He sees fit. Until then, we are to seek Him and be faithful to what He has assigned to us. Amen, amen, amen. That was very good. And, remaining humble. If we weren't at the beginning of this podcast after reading that, I sure am, right? That's part of growth. That's part of spiritual growth in recognizing when God is trying to speak to us and call on us. I wish all of you an amazing weekend. I hope you're doing something fun. I hope you're with your loved ones and the ones you love most, your chosen family or your family, your friends or your loved ones. I just want you to have a sunshiny day. And I take myself to Hawaii every single night. I take myself there. That's my happy place, our happy place. And I go there with you every night. And I love you. Thank you for being here.
I love you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. And we'll see you guys next Friday with another brand new episode of Faith Ignited. Until then, God bless. Good night. Good night, baby.
Good night, everyone.